We wonder about what it means to write today and to be a writer in the age of the internet, Facebook, blogging, all forms of online communication, but more banally perhaps, and more everyday uses of word processing, the track changes functions, the spell check of our word processor. Who or what is writing in these situations?
People often ask me, Gregory Ulmer, what is electracy? And my answer is, that is a unit of meaning in electracy. You understand that electracy is an apparatus, the apparatus of digital technologies. An apparatus is a social machine, and we are inventing electracy by analogy with literacy.
What you recognise as words are able to be recognised only because they come from within a system. So to that extent, my body's not actually the author of what I speak. I am not condemned or trapped, but I am certainly constrained in certain ways to produce certain utterances according to certain rules over which I have no control, rules that I did not make, rules that I can bend but not easily break.
Picture cascading waterfalls full of pure water. You can drink fully naked, excited by yourself.
We are all born remixers, and that we immerse ourselves in the source material everywhere, which we are then able to, according to Duchamp as well in the creative act, and I'm now sampling and remixing him, remixologically inhabit. And remixologically inhabit this source material as, and this is what I'm now trying to suggest artists are, that we all are, as post-production mediums, tapping into our unconscious creative potential.
And one thing I want to put as a sort of a principle or a tacit kind of idea for today is that source material is not something that we seek out in the age of or the remix, or the age of remixology. Source material finds you. You then let it take possession of you. You can then, once it's taken possession of you, take over and channel it. You can appropriate it.
Whatever one wants to say about, for example, the works of Shakespeare, it would be impossible for Shakespeare to have produced those works, for his name to be associated with them, if he weren't Elizabethan Jacobean remixologist who knew full well, for example, the works of Holinshed and indeed the works of his fellow dramatists.
Post-realisable, Nautilus porthole in league with road fork, exponentially farmer and worker, more than factotum, more than gravity, more than praiseworthy, relishing relapse, rigours of brevity.
And these are questions about how new technologies and social media not only amplify the effects of violence and terror, but also I've been trying to think about, do they enable and also perhaps produce new modalities of terror? And I also have been thinking about the modalities of spectatorship and witness, in particular global and diasporic spectatorships that they produce, and the relations of complicity and responsibility that they give rise to. What we witness here, I think, is a new kind of performativity of terror.
And instead of picking up the very popular media anxieties about should we worry about privacy? Yes, of course we should, and so on and so forth. What I'm more interested in is, should our kids be anxious about us as parents? And particularly, I'm thinking of parents like me who did not grow up with the internet, but whose kids will, for better or worse, be digital citizens from day one. And I was particularly interested in the question of, should I or should any parent have the right to write their offspring's story, as it were, in social media, knowing full well that that is not a story that they or we own?
The way YouTube is presented, its homepage, featured videos, kind of most watched, currently being watched, and so forth. How these already kind of guide our interaction with the platform, steer us towards particular kinds of content. And the very idea of popular starts to generate a certain, if you like, sort of generic conventions for the reproduction of a popular video. So if you ever want to be most, have a popular watched video on YouTube, you look at what's been popular in the past and you know exactly the kinds of things to do. We're not dealing with a completely transparent platform here. The platform itself kind of shapes our actions, and so to that extent there's always power at play.
This is specific capacity of electricity is to support this jump in or out of time, this connection of different experiences in which the somatic memory of the body connects with an external signifier to generate this new dimension of articulation that picks out of the world, out of the real. It picks out this capacity of the body to experience time.
Deschamps and Professor Vijay sit astride the low balustrade at the edge of the roof with the chessboard between them. An IBM technician is nearby.
Performing the self. These days, this usually takes place in networked and mobile media culture. Performing the self is essentially how we become the next version of creativity coming, because, as every devoted remixologist eventually finds out, only through a process of creative visualization can you even begin to become the next version of creativity coming. And this visualization process requires rendering into vision what our spiritual unconscious, out of necessity, intuits for us.
Over and out. Out. Over and over. Out. 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 Over.